Welcome to the Business Smart Session podcast, brought to you by Pyrus.co. This is your go-to spot for practical tips, expert insights, and smart strategies to grow your business. Whether you're a startup founder, a seasoned entrepreneur, or just business curious, there's something here for you. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something pretty fundamental these days, technology outsourcing.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this deep dive, our source material is some key excerpts from a document that really goes deep into global IT talent, current trends, and how businesses are actually using this stuff strategically.
Right, so our mission here is basically to pull out the most important insights from these sources for you, give you the essentials on tech outsourcing without you having to wade through everything.
And what really jumps out, I think, from the material is that core idea. In this digital era, pretty much every company is a tech company, right? Doesn't matter the industry.
Which means everyone needs tech expertise.
Exactly. It's universal but.
But, and this is the big but, that talent is super expensive, and finding the right people locally, it's often really, really hard, like finding a needle in a haystack, digitally speaking.
Totally. That scarcity, especially for those really specialized skills, that's the main engine, the source says, driving this huge wave of tech outsourcing we're seeing.
Okay, so let's start right there then. Why are companies turning to outsourcing for tech? What are the big drivers mentioned in our source?
Well, the number one thing mentioned is definitely the skill shortage. Just finding enough skilled people, software developers, data scientists, experienced IT pros, it's tough everywhere.
And the source points out it's particularly tough and expensive for companies in places like North America or Western Europe, right? You're competing with everyone for talent, and salaries are just sky high.
Exactly right. And outsourcing, well, it just changes the game. It opens up access to these huge talent pools you just couldn't reach otherwise. We're talking tech hubs in India, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Southeast Asia.
Places the document notes have strong education systems cranking out lots of engineers.
Millions of them, potentially. So it's not just about cost, though that's often part of it. It's more about getting access to the sheer volume and variety of talent you need when you need it, which might just not be available or affordable down the street.
So it's talent access first, cost maybe second, expanding the possibilities.
That's how the source frames it, expanding your potential team way beyond your local area. And it highlights just how mainstream this is now. Get this. It says 92% of large companies, the Global 2000, use IT outsourcing in some way.
Wow, 92%. Okay, so that really drives home that this isn't some niche strategy anymore. It's like standard practice for big players trying to keep up.
It really is.
Yeah.
And when you look at what they're outsourcing, well, the list is pretty long.
Yeah. What kinds of services are we talking about? What are companies comfortable handing off, according to the source?
Oh, it's the whole range.
Yeah.
Foundational stuff like software development, building apps, websites, custom systems.
And the infrastructure side, too. Managing servers, networks, cloud stuff.
Yep. IT infrastructure management, cloud operations, all that. Plus the classic like tech support, QA and testing, and increasingly, even complex data analytics.
It even gets into the really new stuff, doesn't it? I think the source mentioned AI, machine learning, even blockchain.
It does. And it makes a good point that the market's so mature now, you can find specialized providers for almost anything, like firms that only do AWS migrations or just focus on, say, Python development or software for a specific industry. Super niche.
Okay, so it's widespread, covers tons of services. How does it actually work? What are the main ways companies structure these outsourcing relationships based on the source?
The document lays out two main approaches. First is the project-based model.
Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward. Like you have a specific job, build this website feature, and you hire an outside team just for that, like a contract.
Exactly like that. A defined scope, a deadline, specific deliverable. Finite. The other big one is the dedicated team model.
Dedicated team. How's that different?
Well, this is often called an offshore development center, or ODC. Basically, the outsourcing company puts together a team, developers, testers, whatever you need, who work full-time just for you, the client.
So they're technically employed by the outsourcing firm, but they operate like they're part of your team.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It feels much more like an extension of your own staff, even though they're remote.
Yeah.
You get more long-term control, they integrate better with your processes, and you can shift their focus as your needs change. It's less transactional, more integrated.
Got it. Project-based for one-offs, dedicated teams for ongoing sort of embedded work. Okay. Now, thinking about today, what specific areas are really hot? Where's the growth happening in tech outsourcing right now, according to the source?
A really big one is cloud and DevOps. Companies moving to AWS, Azure, Google Cloud.
Mhm.
They often outsource the heavy lifting of planning and doing that migration.
Yeah, because getting that expertise in-house fast is hard, right?
Yeah.
And then managing the cloud environment, automating releases with the DevOps, is complex stuff.
It is. So outsourcing lets them get there faster, get the benefits of cloud, without having to build a whole expert team overnight. Another huge growth area, cybersecurity.
Oh, I bet. Finding good cyber people is tough, and keeping them, even tougher. Plus, the threats change constantly.
Exactly. It's a massive challenge. So the source points to more companies using managed security service providers, MSSPs. These guys offer things like 24/7 monitoring, handling security incidents, managing vulnerabilities. Basically, an expert security team on call all the time.
Makes sense. What about the cutting-edge stuff like AI and data science? Is that being outsourced too?
Absolutely. Instead of, trying to build a massive internal AI research division, companies are often outsourcing specific AI projects,
Like what?
like building a recommendation engine or maybe optimizing a supply chain with machine learning. They bring in specialists for that specific project. It gives them access to top-tier skills and maybe even computing resources they don't have without the huge long-term investment.
And QA and testing feels like a classic outsourcing area.
It is, and still a major trend, according to the source. Outsourcing QA offers a lot. You get continuous testing, automated testing at scale, testing on tons of different devices.
And maybe a fresh pair of eyes. An external team might catch things the internal developers miss.
That's a big part of it, yeah. That independent perspective. Plus, you can use teams in different time zones to run tests overnight, which can really speed things up.
Okay. And one more the source mentioned, legacy system maintenance. Sounds kind of dull, but important.
Super important, but yeah, not glamorous. Lots of big companies still run on older systems, COBOL, mainframes, that kind of thing. Finding people who know that stuff is getting really hard.
So they outsource keeping the old stuff running.
Exactly. It frees up their internal teams to work on new, innovative projects instead of propping up the old systems.
Okay, so we know the why, the what, the how. Let's talk benefits. What are companies actually getting out of this? Beyond just, it's cheaper.
Yeah, cost is definitely there. The source mentions lower labor costs.
Yeah.
But it's broader now. Think savings on infrastructure, too. Office space, hardware, software licenses, the partner covers that. And flexibility is huge.
Flexibility how?
The ability to scale your tech team up or down really quickly. Need 10 more developers for a 6-month project. You can get them. Project ends. You scale back down. Much easier than hiring and firing full-time staff.
That agility sounds incredibly valuable. What else? Speed?
Definitely. Faster time to market is a major advantage highlighted. If you need developers now, an outsourcing partner can often provide them way faster than you could possibly hire locally, which can take months.
So projects start sooner, finish sooner. Big competitive edge.
Huge. And you mentioned time zones earlier. That leads to another benefit, the follow-the-sun model.
Right, the 24-hour development cycle.
Sort of, yeah. Your team in, say, the U.S. finishes for the day. A team in Europe or Asia picks it up, works while you sleep, hands it back. Code keeps moving almost around the clock. Progress can be way faster on big projects.
Wow, that's intense. How does this impact the people inside the company, the core team?
That's actually a key strategic benefit the source emphasizes. Focus. When you delegate implementation or maintenance or specialized tasks, your internal leaders and key tech people can focus on the big picture.
Like strategy, product vision, making sure tech serves the business goals.
Exactly. Your CIO can focus on digital transformation, not get bogged down in managing daily support tickets. Your architects can focus on core systems, not building a one-off mobile app. It elevates the internal team's work.
Okay, that makes sense. Letting the core team do the core work. Is there a risk angle too?
Yeah, there's an element of risk sharing. Good contracts have performance clauses, deadlines, quality standards. Some of the execution risk shift to the vendor. Plus, experienced outsourcing firms have likely solved similar problems before, so maybe less trial and error risk than tackling something totally new internally.
So benefits are clear. Cost efficiency, flexibility, speed, focus, risk mitigation. But it can't all be smooth sailing. What are the potential bumps in the road, and how does the source suggest navigating them?
Miscommunication is called out as a really big one. Working remotely, across cultures, time zones, It's easy for requirements to get lost in translation or for misunderstandings to happen.
So how do you prevent that? Or at least minimize it?
The source says invest time upfront defining requirements really clearly. But then, and this is crucial, use an agile approach. Short sprints, frequent check-ins, daily stand-ups if possible.
And tools.
Oh yeah. Tools are indispensable. Things like Jira for tracking tasks, Slack or Teams for constant chat, GitHub for code visibility. They create transparency and keep everyone connected.
Okay. What about the cultural differences in time zones themselves? That's got to be tricky.
It can be. The advice is, first, acknowledge it. Then make sure you have project managers, either yours or theirs, who are good at managing distributed teams. You absolutely have to plan for some overlapping work hours for meetings and get good at asynchronous communication, like really clear written updates.
Right. And then there's the worry about code quality or losing control of your intellectual property.
Always a concern.
Yeah.
The source recommends standard best practices here. Use version control religiously. Implement code reviews. Maybe your internal team reviews the outsourced code.
Some companies might keep the really core sensitive stuff in-house and outsource other parts.
That's a common hybrid approach, yeah. Also, insist on good documentation for everything, and definitely do security audits if sensitive data is involved.
And the relationship itself. How should companies view their outsourcing partner? Just a supplier?
No, the source really pushes back on that. It frames success around building a long-term partnership. Find a good partner. Invest in that relationship. Over time, they learn your business, your systems. They become much more effective, more proactive.
Like an extension of your own team, really.
Exactly. The source even mentions some companies fly their dedicated teams in sometimes for planning or team building. It's about treating them as integrated partners, not just hired hands.
That makes sense. It helps to look at the real-world example in the source, I think. It seems to tie a lot of this together.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's about a mid-sized U.S. software company. They had a successful web product, but wanted to add significant new stuff.
What specifically were they trying to add?
Two big things. A native mobile app version of their platform, and some pretty advanced AI features for predictive analytics.
And let me guess, their internal team was already swamped.
Totally maxed out. Good team, but fully busy maintaining the main product, working on the existing roadmap, dealing with tech debt. No bandwidth for two huge new initiatives like that. And maybe not the exact specialized skills needed either.
Okay, so how did outsourcing help them?
They were smart about it. They used two different partners. One firm, located in Ukraine, was hired specifically to build the mobile app. And then separately, they brought in an AI consultancy from Canada to handle the complex machine learning models.
Right. Two specialized partners for two distinct needs. Smart. What happened?
The mobile app got built pretty quickly. The source says about 4 months, while the internal team kept working on the core product, much faster than they could have done it themselves.
And the AI part.
That took about 6 months. The consultancy brought in expert data scientists, prototyped the models, integrated them. The source notes this specialist expertise really increased the chances of those complex features actually working well.
And the impact. What was the result for the company?
Well, the internal team wasn't disrupted. They stayed focused. Both big projects got done, apparently within budget. So the company launched major new capabilities on multiple platforms much faster than they could have otherwise, and accessed skills they didn't have internally, accelerated their roadmap, and didn't burn out their core team or bloat their permanent payroll.
That really does highlight the strategic angle, doesn't it? Accessing skills, speed, parallel development, not just cost savings.
Exactly. And it reinforces that main point from the source. Tech outsourcing today, it's really not just about finding cheaper labor anymore.
It's moved way beyond that. It's a strategic tool now. For innovation, for speed.
Yeah, for getting access to expertise, for flexibility. It helps companies compete. Doesn't matter if you're huge or just growing. Figuring out how to leverage external talent effectively. That can be a serious advantage. Scale up, try new tech, free up your best people.
And the key to making it actually work, according to the source, seems to be that partnership mindset.
Absolutely. Don't treat them like just vendors. Treat them like part of the team. Communicate clearly. Build trust. Invest in the relationship long term. That's when you get the best results.
So as you're listening to this, maybe think about your own situation. How could this global talent pool and these different ways of working with external teams, how could that change things in your world, your team structure, how fast you can launch new ideas, maybe even the competitive dynamics in your specific industry? Lots to chew on there.
You've been listening to the Business Smart Session Podcast, proudly sponsored by Pyrus.co. Until next time, stay sharp, stay smart, and keep building something great.